Guys, welcome back. It's Racer X, and today I actually have a pretty exciting video. It's one you guys have been asking me for a while, and obviously, as some of you may know, I recently picked up this bad boy. That is a 2020 Mustang GT Premium. Recaro seats, love that thing, and I'm really having a blast driving it. That is my new daily to replace my Subaru, and of course, we have Mrs. X's 2019 Challenger Scatpack. So one would logically think, well, why not just match the two up against each other? Well, today that's exactly what I'm going to do, and you guys knew it was coming. So we're going to go ahead and do a 60 to 130 run today. I recently did a video not too long ago where I actually just kind of drove the cars around, gave you my driving impressions, and the two cars do drive very differently. But today we're going to do the 60 to 130 test using the Draggy to see which one of these two bad boys comes out on top. It should be a fun one. Also, guys, if you're new to my channel, do me a huge favor, hit the subscribe button for me. I've got lots of great stuff on the way. Also, follow me on Instagram. And here we go. We got the 1,000 horsepower helmet. Now, before we get into it too far, obviously, yes, it is a Mustang GT. I do need to kind of replace these stock wheels. I don't really like the stock wheels on the car, but the rest of the car I absolutely love. This is a 10-speed automatic car, as you know, so it really shifts. Now, this one revs out to like 7,500 RPM, so this is a really revvy son of a gun. Now, as we know, Mrs. X's Scat Pack, now keep in mind, neither one of these cars has been tuned, so essentially from the factory, you're looking at 485 versus 460, but a lot more torque on the Scat Pack, so a lot more low-end punch. You're looking at 475 pound-feet of torque versus 420 in the 5-liter Mustang. But as I mentioned, 10-speed, that revs out a little bit higher versus an 8-speed automatic transmission. In this one, shifts about 6,200 RPM. So really, if you think about it, the advantage should go to the Mustang. You're looking at 600-pound weight difference in favor of the Mustang as well. But you never really know until you try the two cars out, run them up against each other, and see how they stack up. For the purposes of this video, for this test, I'm going to be using the Draggy once again. I do feel like the Draggy is kind of the fairest way to do this. It's great because it just works off of an app in my phone, and it's the same device in both cars. It works off of GPS, and it is very accurate. It even measures slope. It measures all the intervals from like 0 all the way up to what you want to go to. And really, the big test is kind of that 60 to 130. Both of these cars can comfortably reach that speed without an issue, but it will be interesting to see how the Scat Pack does. It is heavier, it's less aerodynamic, and of course it doesn't rev quite as high, but it does have the power and the torque advantage, and so it should be a really interesting little test. And if I just use the car timers, most of the time it's like, yeah, will the car timer be somewhat accurate? Yeah, kinda, but going from car to car, who knows if the Ford is going to have kind of a little bit different timer than the Dodge and all that kind of stuff. This is going to keep it really fair and keep our test true. So first up will be the 2019 Scat Pack Challenger, and the way to kind of do this, I think, is to do 3 separate runs and then just average up the 3 runs and see who wins. I think that, you know, if you get one that's a little bit off or whatever, the car can still overcome it if you see a trend. But I feel like 3 runs, you average them out, and then it should give us an idea of which car is quicker. So let's go. Well, I got the Draggy all ready to go. It's clearly working just fine. So this car will be in track mode, which is obviously the most aggressive setting for this car. And the Mustang, same thing, except that one will be in drag mode. That's actually the most aggressive mode for the Mustang. And we're gonna start somewhere around 40 mile an hour and kind of let it build up a little bit. Then of course the real test will be the measurement from 60 to 130 miles an hour. All right, here we go. We're with a run 1. Draggy's going, and we're gonna get it down to hopefully about here we go, 43 mile an hour. Draggy's rolling. Let's go. We're cooking. It's running good. That one was a 1324, so felt like that one was kind of uphill. Just happened to be that stretch of road I was on, so we'll see if we can get a little better stretch. And 1324 is a good solid start. Here we go. Moving pretty good. This is run 2. All right, that one was a 1280, and that was a valid run. So a little better run out of the car that time. Let's see if we can get one more in, and we'll get our average.
60.
All right, so we did 3 runs in the 2019 Challenger Scatpack. I will say the end of that little run, or where I run this, it is Velocidad, Mexico, by the way. But anyway, it is a little bit uphill. So sometimes, even though they're valid runs, it's kind of weird because it's a little downhill. But at the end, when the cars are really trying to get momentum, it goes uphill. So, but at the end of the day, it still performed pretty well. 1324, 1280, and a 1210. So it got faster with each run, which I guess is good news. And that makes our average for the 3 runs a 1271. So over to the Mustang to see if the Mustang does better. All right, I am now aboard the 2020 Mustang GT, and I gotta say, it's immediately when you get in this car, it just feels so different from the Challenger. And of course, we know that it feels like a smaller car. It is a smaller car. The thing just sounds different. It drives way different. I mean, this truly is more of a sports car versus a muscle car in the Challenger. And like I said, the Challenger is just a torque monster down low. I fully expect this thing to really breathe up top. Not quite 500 miles on this car, but I'm sure it's got enough break-in where it'll be just fine. We'll go get some good octane in it and see what it does. So what had happened was, I'm all ready to go, and I left the Draggy in the Challenger. So I guess that sucks. All right, here we go with run 1 in the Mustang. See what happens here. Got a good opening here. Here we go. Wow, the Mustang is really shifting. Holy cow. Woo, the thing shifts hard in track. That's all she wrote. Okay, that was a 1093. Wow. All right, that was pretty stout. Here we go, run 2. Running pretty good. All right. Pretty solid little run on that. Sorry about the sun in my face, guys. The sun is brutal this time of day. All right, guys, the second run was an 11:18, so still a pretty strong showing from the Mustang. I believe that run was a valid run. So a couple solid pulls from this thing. We'll get one more to give a good baseline, and we'll get the average.
60.
So that run was a 1095, so really solid out of the Mustang, basically hovering right around the high 10 range for the most part. So I will go ahead and get the average, but I will say I am really impressed with how hard the Mustang shifts in drag mode for a stock car. It feels like this thing has had a really impressive transmission tune on it, because when it shifts, it literally catapults you forward. It feels a lot like my Hellcat does when it shifts. Pretty impressive. All right, so when we look at all 3 runs on the Mustang, we ended up with a 1095, an 1118, and a 1093. Not too shabby out of a bone stock Mustang with 500 miles on it. I'm pretty impressed with that. You really feel this transmission. do its thing. And it's not that the Scat Pack really did poorly. I mean, that's pretty stout for a 4,200 pound muscle car, but it just kind of shows how well this Coyote made it to that 10-speed transmission really works. So let me look at the average now. All right, so after I get the average of the 3 runs on the Mustang, it is 1102. Pretty impressive considering the Scat Pack. The average for that car was like a 1270, somewhere in there. So you're talking about a 1.5 seconds faster on the Mustang over the Scat Pack. Now, as I mentioned before, this test completely favors the Mustang. The Mustang's lighter, it's more aerodynamic. It's got the 10-speed transmission versus the 8-speed in the Scat Pack. So obviously 4 valves per cylinder in this Coyote. So this is really where the Coyote shines, is up top, high RPMs where it can use all 7,500 RPMs, and the thing just rock and rolls on the highway. As we know, the Scat Pack is more of a torque monster down low. But this actually brings up a really interesting point. So Mrs. X's car in the 8th mile against the Mustang is basically undefeated. I mean, that car is so hard to beat in the 8th mile when it comes to like Mustangs. They just can't seem to get out there and beat the Scat Pack in the 8th mile. Now in the 1/4 mile, things change. I feel like the Mustang kind of has enough time to reel it back in, but will it have enough time to get all the way by it? You know what? It might make for an interesting video a little later. And also another really interesting comparison might be the Camaro SS and of course this Mustang GT, because they both feature 10-speed transmissions. They weigh about the same, make about the same amount of power. Drag is about the same on the 2 cars. So I have a feeling that that test would be very, very close. But you know, the highway rolls just aren't really what the Scat Pack does all that well. So when you talk about a 1.5 seconds difference, yeah, that's pretty substantial. But this, like I said, I kind of expected the Mustang to win this one, and it did. But it makes for a fun comparison, and you don't know till you do it. And who knows, maybe we'll get to line the 2 cars up in the 1/4, because I think that's a driver's race there. And we'll see. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will catch you on the next one. So until then, Racer X.